Hey y'all, sorry I've been MIA for a second, but I am back and I have been creating videos for you guys. So the first video up is the video that I promised before, and it is making coffee candles. In this video, I'm going to show you how I did my swirlage. I'm also going to frost the candles and show you and tell you about the wicks that I have used. I also want to encourage you that if you like what I am bringing to you and you want more, please subscribe to the channel. Put on your notifications bell so you can find out when I'm posting any new videos. Follow me on social media. And if you have any ideas for any videos that you would like to see, please post them below. I do have another video coming up pretty soon. A lot of you guys were interested in making soap embeds, so that will be my next video, so look out for that. Thank you guys in advance for watching. Let's get started. So in this particular project, I am going to use Eco 8 wicks. Now, your wick selection is totally up to you. When I do my dessert candles, I really like to use the Eco wicks. Also, depending on the size of your vessel, you may need to use multiple wicks. In this particular one, I'm using one, but in the jumbo mug, sometimes I use 2 or 3, so you have to test it out and see what works best for you. You can also use your wicks on a roll, and being that we're makers right now and everybody was home, it seems like it's really hard to get supplies, so the pre-tapped wicks are a little bit more difficult to come by sometimes, especially if you have a particular wick that you like to use, and you may have to resort to using the wicks on the roll. Now, if you use the wick on a roll, you will have to treat it. So you have to put it into wax to coat it, and then you put your wick tab at the bottom, and then use it accordingly. If you find that your vessel has a dip in the middle, and that is usually the case when it comes to like bowls and cups and things like that, there's a dip in the middle, and sometimes the tab of the wick will not lay flush against against the vessel. So if you want to use the other method with the skewer down the center and then add your wick to it afterwards, that way would be more beneficial, so that you know that your wick is laying flush down at the bottom as opposed to it being a little tilted at the bottom. To add a decorative touch, you can take a skewer and you can wrap your wick around the skewer to give it like a little curly cue. Make sure if you are using this technique and curling the tops of your wick just to make it decorative, please enforce to your customers to trim their wicks, because it will be too long for them to use the wick like that. So you have to let them know that they have to trim their wicks. So for our swirlage of the candle, we are going to add this part is just experimental. I'm going to take the bottom part, the flat part of the skewer, add a little liquid dye at the bottom of the stick, and add that to the bottom of my glass, and then pour the wax in. But you also want to be very careful, because when you do it that way, sometimes if the wax is warm enough, it will change the whole color of the candle, that color, and we want it to stay a little warm so that we can absorb the swirls. Well, so we don't absorb the swirls. We want the swirls to show through the candle without the whole candle changing its entire color. I like to use a plate and a dropper to put the color onto the plate, so that I do not add too much into the candle. I kind of have control of it that way. So just a little tiny drop. You don't even need a full dropper, a full drop. You just need like a little drop, and then you can just dip your top of the skewer into that drop. This one is going to be completely white, because I'm not going to put any color on the bottom of that one. And we're just going to wait for this one to solidify a little bit, and then we're going to put the We're gonna poke holes and put color in it. And we just want to drizzle this around the glass, not too close to each other because it will fuse together. We just want swirls. So as you can see through the glass, you see the skewer and the paint, the liquid dye going up the glass. And you can play with it to see, you know, what works for you or the design, which way you want it to go. I want it to come and swirl through. So I just did little zigzaggy things. And you may want to put some up at the top too, so you can have some color up here at the top. And I'm just going to use the heat gun so it don't look so exact. I want it to kind of look random. And when the candle is semi-hard or semi-solid, it actually what is the word? Suspends the color in the candle, so it doesn't just take on the whole entire color, so it doesn't turn all brown. You know what I mean? I'm just doing like random squiggles, and I'm dragging it into the cup so it could look like the swirl is all through the cup instead of just at the glass surface. So this is the white with the brown, and this is the tan with the brown. This one we're going to put the skewer in midway. This one we are going to leave the way it is. We're going to have to do some cleanup on the side. If you know you want most of your color to be concentrated from the bottom to look like it had coffee, make sure you put most of your colorant down at the bottom with the skewer. So you want to take your colorant and go straight through the middle, go to the side of the glass, to the surface of the glass, down at the bottom, and make sure that you get that color down in there so that it has the look of coffee at the bottom. And once you use the heat gun, it'll spread. You see how you can see the swirl? And you can manipulate it a little bit. Okay, so hopefully I didn't do too much where it'll turn all brown, but this is pretty good. I'm just going to hit it with the heat gun so that this doesn't look so solid and it looks more marbly. Okay, while this is semi-solid, we are going to take our skewer and go down the middle of the cup. I'm going to twist a little bit, and we're going to leave it there until the whole candle is solidified. Then we're going to take it out. We're going to turn the skewer upside down, and we're going to widen the hole and expand it a little bit so that we are able to get our wick straight down the middle of this candle. Okay, so what we're going to do now is take a heat gun And we are basically just going to heat up where the liquid dye is, and we're going to create the swirlage. This is pretty good actually. We probably could have left it in this state, but what I don't want are those lines, so I want it to be a little bit more smooth. Just going to use the heat gun on low, just enough to heat up the wax and the dye. And this takes a few minutes. You'll start to see little bubbles form. And when you see the heat will make the wax create bubbles, and the bubbles will start rising to the top, and it'll start giving you a certain, give you distinct patterns. As you can see, the sharp lines that I had there are gone. And you can also see more of a swirl pattern, and you can move that around till you get kind of what you want. You see how it's swirling into the glass? And the glass is hot, so it's moving, distributing the color around. This process takes a minute, but the results are amazing and they're worth it. So you can do, if you have a whole bunch to do, you can get all your candles together, put the swirlage in them, because that's what we're going to call it. Put the swirlage in it, and then just go through everything and just heat gun it. And you just do it like an assembly line. You see the bubbles at the top? So now you can move it around a little bit. See that? Can you see that? And you can kind of like see where you want to shift the color to. You can take a skewer, stick it in the cup. See how you could drag that around and move that around. Look at those pretty swirls. Let's put a little bit here. We can move that over. And remember, you don't want to do too much, because if you do too much, you're going to end up mixing the whole thing and it'll all be brown instead of, having swirls. Don't be scared to experiment with like swirling it around and moving things different ways to see what you get. We're gonna let that set, come back to this, and we're gonna mess with this one. This one is actually pretty cool. And we could, if you are satisfied with this, you could leave it here. And if you would like to put the swirls on it and you like the way it looks, like the swirls looking like it has some dimension, like it's deep inside the candle, you don't have to put the swirl on top of the glass. I mean, you don't have to touch the glass. You can go kind of like to the edge of the glass so you can see the swirl, but you're not touching the glass so that you see it like you do here. But this is pretty cool. You can leave it here. You can bring it up a little bit more so that it doesn't fade into the background. But this is pretty good. Like, I want to hit this with the heat gun a little bit so that can give you a little bit more. But this is pretty cute. I like it this way. I really do. So you can use this with any color. You don't necessarily have to use brown like I did. You can use any color. You can use any liquid dye. I would use liquid dye because it's easy to stick, to put inside the candle, and it's easy to manipulate as far as that in color block. So this, I think, is a better technique. And we're gonna just give it a little bit of heat, just a little bit. See how we're bringing that color to the front of the glass as opposed to being deep into the candle. We're bringing it to the front without touching the glass. This was the color that was far into the semi-solidified wax. And you can move it around a little bit. Take your skewer, poke around so you can get some action. See that? And just manipulate it a little bit. Poke some holes in it. Swiggle the lines. And when you see something you like, stop. Now we're just gonna hit it with the heat gun to bring it all together. As you can see, the skewer is still staying there. Once it solidifies, we're going to take the skewer out. And I think this one has such pretty swirlage. And we're going to take a napkin and clean up the edges, because it's going to matter when we add frosting. So just give it a once over and make sure that you don't have any air pockets in there. These swirls look amazing. Okay, so I did these swirls just for the sake of the video, because in the video that I'm going to attach to this, it did not have me doing the swirl. It just had me showing the frosting on it. So when you see the frosting technique, you will see it on a different mug, but keep in mind that I didn't show you how to swirl. So this is me showing you how to do the swirlage. So this is what we have for the swirl. Now you can just leave your candle like this if you filled it up to the top, or if you're like me and you like to have a whipped topping and also an embed, you can do that. This one, we're going to revisit this at a later time, but these are apple cider donuts. Oh my god, they smell so good. All right, so this one is the lighter one. This is the one that I wanted to look like it just had the swirls in the white and not so much like in tan. So this one, these are our swirls. It looks like marble. Very nice. Very nice. And also I did this one to show you that you can do this with the skewer in the middle, just in case you want to add your wick later. So you can also frost and then stick this through the center and do it that way. That way you don't disrupt the frosting, or you try to frost around the wick. So I'm just going to wiggle this around a little bit, twist it, and get the wick out. I mean, get the wick out, get the skewer out. But I want to make sure that I have enough expansion to put enough expansion to put the wick through. So there's the hole. Now, like I said, I did not coat my wick because I really do not like to use the wick on the roll. That's my like alternative. But I'm just going to use one of the wicks that I have, and this is one of the Eco wicks, and I'm just going to slide it down through the bottom. It still has a tab at the top, and I'm just going to show you how easy it is to put it in, just like that. And then you can use your heat gun and let the wax loosen up a little bit and melt, and it'll melt around the wick. So you can do it that way. It's especially if you want to make sure that you have it centered, that's a good way to do it. Or like I said, if you want to frost on top of it and do your decorations first and then stick your wick through, so that you don't have to, sometimes frosting around your wick is a little challenging. So instead of doing it that way, you can do it this way. And that's that. And then the next part of the video will be me frosting it and adding embeds. So that's that.